We continue to preview the 2025 college football season. Our stop today is Springfield, Missouri, as we get to visit with Chuck Hepola, who is the head football coach for the Evangel Valor. Coach, looking at this decade mark now as you're heading into your 10th season as the head coach for the program. 8-2 last year. I'm on that number 10. You played 10 games last year, 8-2 last year. You lost one game to weather along the way. Not a bad season, just on the outside looking in on the playoffs. Tell us a little bit about 2024.
Yeah, like you said, it finished 8-2. Lost the game to St. Mary's. We had a home game, and man, the Lightning just kept, and it was relentless. And then it was to the point to where it was starting to get problematic for travel and bus drivers and stuff like that. And so we had to make a decision from there. And since it was a crossover game, we did not reschedule that because again, finances, anytime you travel and stuff like that, it's going to cost you a lot of money. But outside that, very, very pleased with, the season. We were right outside the playoffs and we want to consistently get, back into the playoffs. But just proud of our kids. I mean, both the games that we lost were really tight games and could have went either way. In the McPherson game, I can reflect on that one. And goodness gracious, I mean, their running back made a great run, with I think there was less than a minute left and be able to get them into scoring position. And then we called a timeout, just told the defense that they just got to let them score because we got to be able to have time to be able to get the ball back. And sometimes that's a strategy you'll see that is used at all levels. And then obviously losing to Southwestern, who had a really solid team, but it was a really good football game. And so, it's hard to be disappointed to be 8-2, but it's still, we have high expectations here at Evangel. And so, I would oftentimes see people come up to me and go, well, kind of had a rough season. I'm like, well, we were 8-2, it's just kind of the expectation around here. And I'm glad to be a part of a program that's the expectation.
Well, Coach, and you won so many of the games too. I mean, right now in the KCACI, just the two losses on the docket right there, and looking back through, I mean, you won your first 18 games in KCAC play. Which I know, again, that's what you want. That's the standard, and it's where you expect to be. But at that point, with kind of a streak like that, knowing that you hadn't lost a conference game since you switched conferences, did you feel like there was a target on your back anywhere along the way?
Yeah, and honestly, we kind of feel that way all the time. I get people ask me a lot when I was in the Heart, and who was our biggest rival, and I said all of them, really, honestly, and then when we're in the KCAC, kind of feel the same way. Our kids get out and play extremely hard, and I think people know that. And we feel like we have a very disciplined team, and so I think when people know they're going to play Evangel, they're going to have to be disciplined, and we are as well. We always refer to the team that wins as one that makes the least amount of mistakes, and so we really thrive on that here at Evangel. So how we practice, if you were to come out and watch us practice, then, it would make sense what we do on Saturdays, which is discipline. Discipline's the most important thing for me. Of course, unity is first, but discipline, you gotta, can't have pre-snap penalties and so forth. And so that's one reason why we talk a lot about Evangel doesn't beat Evangel. So that's what we talk about a lot in our program.
I understand. Evangel, by the way, a great university and a solid athletic department all the way around. And I mention that because you are now leading the entire department, not just the football team, but named the athletic director in January as well. Tell us a little bit about the other hat that you're wearing.
Yeah, that's been a lot of fun because I've experienced some things I've never experienced before, and I just approach this. Sorry about that. I had somebody come to my office. I was still but I approach really the athletic department the way we do the football program, and that's just try to create processes and build relationships and just kind of try to listen to what the coaches need and want. And so yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's just it's a lot. I'm in a lot of meetings, which I already was anyway. and so I'm at a lot more meetings than I normally am. But outside of that, I'm very very thankful to Dr. Rakes and the university for them to offer me this opportunity, and so I'm very very thankful for it.
We look ahead to 2025, and I'll start on the offensive side of the ball. Eric Williams comes back to be a senior for you this year. 1,077 rushing yards, 11 rushing touchdowns, a couple of receiving TDs as well, and a nice little mark for the program too, because he becomes the first 1,000-yard running back since 2005. So I'll let you talk about the offense. I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah, so I mean that's really cool for Eric, to be able to be our first 1,000-yard rusher in a while, and Eric is be a senior for us, and is just a great young man. I mean, we've got three all conference running backs returning, and so so I'm really proud of our running game. Reed Potts is returning as a quarterback that started for us, but we also have quite a few quarterbacks that have played significantly on Saturdays as well, and so we have about three of those. Offensive line up front, we return four starters. We return our starting tight end, a couple of we return a couple of our receivers as well, and then on the defensive side, we return a lot of guys up front, a lot of guys in the secondary. We just got to replace some linebackers, and then we got to replace our kicker and punters. So we've got a substantial group of guys that are returning in all three phases, and special teams. A lot of guys that have played special teams and for a long time out there, but we just got to replace that kicker and punter. But we've got some guys that can get out there and do the job. So we'll just see what happens.
We're visiting now with Chuck Hepola here on Midwest Sportsnet, and I encourage you, please take the time to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We talk about small college sports and more throughout the Midwest and beyond. You were talking about replacing kicker and punter. I'll go there. Jonah Edwards graduated, an All-American kicker for you. I love these numbers, by the way, Coach. I mean, just about as good as they can be. 14 of 15 field goal, 36 of 36 point after attempts last season. Just stellar numbers. And I mentioned him, and you talked about it also, the All-Americans that you had four of them last year, all of them graduating, but Edwards one of those.
Yeah, Joan Edwards was a great young man that developed during his 4 years here, and ended up being an All-American. He was actually the Special Teams Player of the Year in the KCAC,
Mm-hmm.
and his only miss was not a miss; it got blocked. And so it's really hard for him to be. It was actually his last kick. It was the very last week of the very last game of the season, and the wind was behind him. We were trying to get him a long field goal. We really probably could have stayed out on the field offensively and tried to get the first down, but was trying to get him a really solid field goal, and then we just didn't block, and then properly, and the guy came off the edge and blocked it. And then he's just had a stellar career. Ryan Connor was also an All-American punter for us that probably should have been an All-American 3 years in a row. And the reason why he wasn't at times is because he was such a great punter. And you might say, well, that sounds strange. Well, he was pinning people inside the 10-yard line, inside the 5-yard line. So what that does is that affects, your average.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, if you're pinning them inside the 20 and inside the 10 and so forth, it's going to take the average of that kick. And unfortunately, sometimes, in my opinion, people are looking at the wrong stats sometimes, and they need to be looking at, some stuff like that. But that young man could pinpoint that ball and was a great player. Back on Jonah is in Tulsa now, and he's actually kicking for one of the arena teams, and so really cool experience for him. Then the other, so those are two of the All-Americans. The other two All-Americans, Bradley Myers, who led the country in tackles his junior year, was second in the country in tackles his senior year, graduated, and he was the Defense Player of the Year in the conference. And then C.J. Anawahi, who used to play defensive line. We moved him to offensive line. I remember having a conversation with him. Told him in my office, I said, if we can move you to offensive line, I think you've got the potential to be an All-American. and he ended up becoming a two-time All-American. I'm not saying he was an All-American because we moved him, and then but we saw that potential in him, and he sure enough reached his potential, and he was a guard for us, and just a solid player.
Coach, all those players you mentioned, what fantastic opportunities there that they had playing for you and playing in the program, and that you all had as a program, getting to have them there as well. I'll go back to one area really quickly. You talked about Bradley Myers, one of the players that's graduated and moved on. His brother Zach
Yep.
will be coming back and being a part of the program. Can you tell us a little bit about the defense? Zach be a part of that unit.
Yeah, Zach is man, he is just a beast over there on the defensive side. We'll play him defensive end, but it depends on who we play. Sometimes you'll see him interior, and it depends on what they're doing offensively. And sometimes we feel like that we've got a mismatch there with his, fast twitch and so forth. But he didn't earn All American last year, but 2 years ago he did, and
Mhm.
in part the reason why he didn't is because the next year is because people started running away from him, and so again you don't have the statistics that you need to be able to have All American, because it's great to be an All American, but sometimes there's some really really good players that just don't get ran at enough, that they don't really get those statistics that they probably need. But first of all, he is a great human being. I mean, I want to be Zach Myers. That's the type of person he is. He's a great young man. He's a solid Christian young man. If he tells you the sky is blue, you don't need to look outside. You just need to know the sky's blue. I mean, he's that kind of person, and but a solid football player that just brings it every day and just has a tremendous motor. And he's going to fill the void, or not the void, but he's going to lead the impact there up front. Kason Hatley's another interior defensive lineman. Started as a true freshman. Deacon Peterson started as a true freshman for us. Garrett Finley. So those are four guys up front that's going to play quite significantly for us. So and then we've got solid guys. Really eight guys up front that can really play well for us. And then the secondary, we've got corners that have played consistently for us. We moved one of our quarterbacks, believe it or not, to the safety position, and so we've got twins back there. So Eric and Kenny Spring, so they'll be in the secondary back there together. One's a safety, one's a corner, and then Javion. So we've got Javion Turner. So we've got some really good players back there. Like I said, the biggest probably question mark we have on defense would be the linebacker situation, and we've got guys that have played, but we've got to have guys that they're going to be able to step up like what Bradley Myers was able to do for us. So again, we've got solid players returning. Back on special teams, our deep snapper and short snapper returns. A lot of times people don't talk about that position. That
Mhm.
position is probably one of the most important positions on the field. And I remember we referenced this a lot as a staff. There was a team a few years ago, I think it was at the FBS level, FBS or FCS, one of those two, but they lost a game because the ball kept getting snapped over the punter's head.
Mhm.
And I think there might have been five of those snaps, and honestly, if they don't have any of those snaps, it's a different ball game.
Yeah.
That's a position that rarely anybody knows their name. His name's Caleb Higginbottom. That's a snapper for us, but outstanding young man, but outstanding at what he does. But that's a specialist position that I don't know if you've ever asked anybody if they're long snappers, short snappers return him, but he's really really good at what he does.
Well, I can actually say yes, I have, but I knew of the young man and knew of his family. So I had the question prepared. But
There you go.
ordinarily, no, you're exactly right, Coach. That's not an area, and we may have to change that here on Midwest Sportsnet. So we'll
Yeah,
have to research that a little bit more deeply. But
there you go.
it's a valid point, and I appreciate you bringing him up as well. So we'll remember him. We'll recall his name the next time we get to visit. The question is, we've learned a whole lot about Evangel today. We've been asking coaches all summer long to get to know them just a little bit better. I'll ask you the same question, Coach. What's your favorite '80s song or '80s band?
Oh goodness, really? I mean, I could go through a ton of them because in the '80s, I was in middle school and high school. I was a 1986 high school grad, so I was right in the thick of it. And I still listen to all sorts of 80s music. Honestly, one that I go to a lot of people might not really, I like Night Ranger.
Hmm.
I don't know if you know who Night
I
Ranger
do.
is.
Yeah.
Of course, listened to a lot of Van Halen back in the day and stuff because they were in their, I guess, their prime during that time.
Hmm.
And man, just love. Uh, if you want to know the truth, I'm a big music lover. I love music, but I love harmony. I love to hear groups that
Huh.
harmonize together. And so just and if you listen to some of those people that I just referenced, actually, if you really listen to them, they've got good harmony. And I actually reference that to my team a lot because if you look at a group, a band, or something that's singing, everybody's got a you got alto, soprano, bass, all that, and they don't try to be something they're not, and they just try to stay in their own lane, do their job,
Hmm.
and then they might ironically not sound very well by themselves, but then when they come together as a band, they sound really really well together. But also, man, I listen to a lot of Christian music. So like the Imperials,
Hmm.
the Imperials were really big in the '80s, and that's a group with Russ Taff
Yes.
and that's probably some of my go-to stuff right there. So
Absolutely. Coach, I'm with you on all those. When I think of Night Ranger, I think of 38 Special too, right around that
yeah,
time, and
100%,
Van Halen, and
100%.
Boston with the harmonies. But
Yep.
I had a couple of Imperials cassettes, and I will say cassettes. Yes, I'm a class of '89 for high school on that, so I'm right there with you. I was a big Petra fan too at that
Oh,
point in
love
time. They were
Petra.
yeah, they were big in the '80s.
Yep, definitely love Petra. Love all sorts of groups like that. I mean, they're the band Truth. I don't know if anybody's aware of Truth, but Truth is
Mhm.
a band that it's not, I don't know if it's really a band. It's more of an ensemble. But there's a lot of people that sang in that particular group. That so For Him started from Truth.
Mhm.
Point of Grace started from Truth. So
Right.
all of these New Song started from Truth. So all of them. Sang in that ensemble of Truth, and those are just awesome music. But again, like I said, I'm a music lover. I sometimes am like, Lord, how come I never got a voice, or how can't play an instrument or anything like that? But I can certainly listen to it and enjoy it.
And I will add to that too, to wrap up your point there about harmony. That all those things For Him, Point of Grace, all those that you
Yep,
mentioned, great harmonies, absolutely, and they all
hundred
did their
percent.
part. So, well, Coach, back to football to wrap it up. Then the season gets underway. Less than 2 months from this recording, August 30th at St. Mary. There's that game that hopefully you get to make it up in a sense. Not
Yeah,
really, but in a sense, you get to see them this year. And then September 6th, the next Saturday, you're home against Sterling. Get the rest of the KCAC crossover schedule, a bye week, and then you're at home to take on Ottawa with a little bit different look to the division this year. So tell us about 25.
yeah, it's interesting the way the conference does, and they made a decision that after every 2 years, they're going to reshuffle the divisions, and that way they can make sure that both divisions are strong, and so I think probably what will happen is it'll either be a year or 2 years after this one, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But yeah, it's still, man, from top to bottom, very very good conference, very productive conference, and there is no really easy game from week to week. So we have mad respect for everybody in this conference, and I'm very very thankful that we're a part of it and that we're a part of KCAC. So Ottawa, if you want to know the truth, that's pretty far down there. So we're just worried about St. Mary's right now and getting ourselves ready. Honestly, we are worried about St. Mary's, but we're worried about Evangel more than we are St. Mary's, and so we want to make sure that we are taking care of our business. And I think sometimes you can focus too much on the opponent and forget about focusing on yourself. I mean, that's kind of a spiritual principle too that we talk to our team a lot about. Like, I can't change somebody; only God can change them. And so, rather than me trying to focus on changing somebody, I need to worry about myself. And so, we apply that spiritual principle to what we do in our program, and that's just, man, just worry about yourself and take care of your business, and we'll see what happens.
Okay, well, Coach, before I let you go, let me tell you, I needed that today. Um, I need to hear that. Honestly, just already for the day, just to let you know that that did something for me. So I'm going to take care of myself a little bit better, and we'll go from there. Coach Chuck Hepola, who has blessed us in more ways than one today. As we previewed 2025 and got to share a little bit too. Coach, I appreciate your time, and I say that with a sincere heart. I appreciate your time. I'm very grateful for the time that you give to Midwest Sports Net, and success to the Valor this year. We will be following you all, and thank you again for being with us here to preview 2025.
I appreciate it. It means a lot, and happy to be on Midwest Sports Net anytime, and we appreciate it.